Greetings and welcome to How to Convey Your Skills and Accomplishments and Achievements. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. All wonders you seek are within yourself. I like this quote and I love that picture because it really shows how we need to celebrate our achievements and our accomplishments, to identify them and to be able to talk about them during our job search process. This is so important in both resumes and our interview skills. Hi, my name is Ann Mossop, and I'm an employment specialist at the Next Steps Employment Center in Downsview. And this is my email address if you want to follow up with me for any reason. I strongly suggest that you follow through and implement a lot of the suggestions that I'm going to be making to you today. So I'm glad that you're joining this recorded session. It's very appropriate for this particular topic. It's a little bit easier to convey. So good resumes answer certain questions, that's for sure. What did you accomplish in this job that someone else wouldn't have? We're talking about your previous job. What makes you unique and how do you approach various tasks? Were you successful? And if we had a secret that could get more interviews and calls from employers, let's say 5%, 10%, or possibly even 20%, who knows? Is it worth for you to listen and to implement a change or the suggestion that I'm going to make to you today? Of course it is. Good interviewees also answer using a powerful tool that we'll be talking about that's relevant to your resume and your cover letters. And the thing that people don't seem to realize that's missing in a lot of times when they're interviewing, they'll talk about a problem that they've solved or they'll talk about an action that they took. But there's one thing that they're leaving out that employers really want to hear. They really want to know what results you're going to create. What benefit are you going to be to the company? So we have to use this knowledge and integrate it into our job search, our marketing materials, so that we're really hitting the nail on the head and meeting the expectations of the employers in the market. So by the end of today's session, we're going to look at some very specific things. We're going to talk about skills to feature in your resume. Talking about your skills is very important. Not just your technical skills or your hard skills, but also the soft skills, the interpersonal skills. Interpersonal is a very broad term to use, so we're going to talk in more depth about what are soft skills. Transferable skills can be either technical or interpersonal, and different characteristics and attributes that you also have to feature on a resume or talk about in an interview. And usually you check the postings very carefully if you're applying online for these clues. We're going to talk about a formula that we use. I'm featuring two that are very similar, P.A.R and C.A.R. When you write an accomplishment statement is really pulling back into your memory and pulling out an example and talking about it with an employer today. Employers are looking for those examples, and you need to convey that in your resume, but also during your interviews, especially interviews, and resumes, equally important. So the only way you can really answer a behavioral question is by having those answers up your sleeve and having them close in your memory. So there's preparation that needs to happen for your resume, and there's preparation that needs to happen for your interview skills. And they're both relevant to C.A.R or P.A.R examples. So I'll talk in more detail about the P.A.R and C.A.R during the presentation. And you have to understand that it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of motivation and effort is required to really create a powerful first draft of a resume and to begin to start working on actually writing out answers, either creating a file on your computer and compiling interview information in that file so that you can review likely questions. You can design a response to tell me about yourself, and so on. So keep an eye and ear out for other presentations, but definitely knowing this little trick or this little secret formula will change your whole job search if you're not using that now. And you have to add and include accomplishment statements in your resume, especially for applicant tracking systems. They're looking for those accomplishment statements. And you need to begin your preparation for your interviews. And you need to have those examples close by in your memory so that you can just reach in and pull it out and talk about it. And it's appropriate to the interview. And you don't do that by just thinking about it. You do it by actually writing out your answers, especially if English is a second language. Why? Because in an interview, you're under a lot of stress, you're under a lot of pressure. Even if you're an English language native, you can't think of the right word when you're in the moment like that. And you'll end up saying 7 or 8 words just to cover off that one word that you just can't remember in the moment. So that's why your preparation is so key to moving forward in this process. And if you're tend to be a more introverted person, you'll be more relaxed, you'll be more prepared. You've reflected before you get into that situation, so you can have an answer that is within a reasonable length of time and an appropriate response to an interview question. So it's all good. Little bit of the housekeeping. You can stop or start this anytime you want. There is a little bit of a warm-up exercise I'm going to ask you about. There is a rationale to what I'm teaching you just about accomplishment statements, because it's a reoccurring theme throughout a job search. When you're sending your resume, when you're sending your cover letters, when you're networking with people, when you're creating a powerful LinkedIn profile, if you're creating a powerful website for yourself, great resume, great marketing tools that support you, and you're branding yourself the way you should. Actually, your accomplishment statements are a big part of your creating your brand. So there is a rationale behind having these accomplishments up our sleeve and being well prepared. I'm going to break it down into pieces, and something that's really important in the body of the resume. And even when you're talking to an employer, to use the correct verb in past tense. Even if you're currently doing something, it's current and ongoing. However, you have done it in the past, so it's not inappropriate if you're presently working, to use past tense when you're starting your support statements that are on your resume, which I will talk about. And just what are your wrap up and what are your next steps in action plan? I'll identify some tools that you can look at that can help you with writing your accomplishments. And there's many different formulas, but I just find P.A.R and C.A.R so easy. So this is why I'm choosing those two. Employers understand stories and examples. And yet so many people don't even know what their own story is. When you're at an interview, you're there to tell stories and to give examples. And a lot of times people just keep listing things off like, I have organization, I have customer service. And it just keeps looping around almost like just like a loop, a video loop, or like a pool, a water pool, and the leaf gets caught up in the swirl of the pool. We have to be specific, and we have to have those examples up our sleeves. And talking about things that we've done in the past, they're able to go, oh, you did this over here? Oh, you're going to come here and you're going to do something similar here. So it really gives a context to who you are, and it really speaks to what employers want to hear. and you want to make sure that you are listening and that you give employers what they want. So they want those examples. Um, Behavioral interviewing is all about pulling out examples from your past and talking about them as an indicator of your future behavior as well. So that's why they use behavioral questions. But you don't want to be thinking and flying by the seat of your pants, as I often say. You'll get caught off guard, and you need to be strategic in your approach for your interviews and for your resume. And if you're just approaching it willy-nilly and you're not thinking strategically, it's not likely you're going to be successful. So it's important to your future. So the little warm up that I have, those of you who are watching, I have a real thing for cars. I love cars. My husband's always testing me on 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, right up to the present, usually 50s upwards, even 30s and 40s. Love cars. So this is quite a familiar car. Um, how would you sell me this car? What would you do to sell me this car? Well, I know most of the guys are probably saying, and some of the girls, because my head turns every time I see a Testarossa drive by. It's 250,000 plus. It's the brand. Wow. It's a prestigious brand. Um, it's red. It's got nice wheels. It's, yeah, I don't know really how to sell the car. I'm not too familiar with the product as far as selling it is concerned. But the product is you, and you are the product. So you do have to know the features of the car, but more importantly, you have to know the benefits of the car, because benefits sell and results sell and features of a product don't sell. So we call that FAB, features and benefits. It's red, it's a feature. It's 12-cylinder, that's a feature. Heated seats, it's a feature. Most of these are features, with the exception of the brand, probably. It's a Ferrari Testarossa. It's status. It's prestigious. It's so in that sense, it you can sort of see that, yeah, there's features, but you have to really sell the benefits. Even the fact it's a Ferrari Testarossa. So we have a tendency as individuals, when we're going through the job search process, of talking about our features and neglecting tying the benefit back to the employer. So what is the point of this exercise, and how is it relevant to a job search? We just have to remember, features don't sell. You're buying a car in July and it has heated seats. So what? Who cares? The benefit is when you get into that car in January and your seats are all toasty and warm, you're getting into a nice, warm, comfortable seat. So you have to explain the benefit, not just the feature, and that's really important to remember, because we are the product. From the employer's perspective, when we step into the employer's shoes, they're looking for a good fit. And that's looking at your skills, and skills include educational requirements, all the requirements of the job, but they're also looking at your personality in today's market. They're looking for somebody who's going to fit in with the company culture and so on. And you can't jump to too many conclusions with regards to even that. You do need to do your research and your homework. You do need to know, is this a good fit? Is this a good match for me? We communicate our examples, we tell true stories, and we use P.A.R or C.A.R, which is a formula. P.A.R stands for what is the problem, what is the action, and what is the end result. So almost like 3 sentences. Or it could be C.A.R, and that is challenges plus action and results. They're both basically the same. Challenges might be more mid-level, higher level, just as a way of thinking. I use P.A.R, and I've always used P.A.R, and I've found it very effective in interview. I really enjoy interviewing, so because I'm prepared, and that is so important to your confidence too. So I always say we all listen to the same radio station, WIIFM. And we see this phrase a lot lately. It stands for what's in it for me, because we all think that way, but the employer's thinking that way. So if you're not talking that way, they aren't going to get that you are the right person if you're not talking to them in a way, and if you're not on the same wavelength when you're meeting with them. So you have to, in that sense, yeah, we're selling ourselves. We're selling our features, but we're talking about our benefits too. Features don't mean anything if we don't talk about the benefits. Problems and actions don't mean anything if we don't talk about the result. So this is why these formulas are so important. And FAB is features and benefits. I remember when I first started in the financial industry many, many years ago, I attended a sales training course. It was actually the Xerox professional selling skills course, which I now believe is Achieve Global, a great training organization in downtown Toronto. And since I learned about features and benefits, my career really soared, because definitely I knew how to sell things to people. And even in today's market, that's being able to influence others. That is a main skill that is really in demand right now, and very important. So everybody's thinking what's in it for me, but definitely the employer. And life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. Um, a lot of times I follow up with people and they're in a panic and they're desperate. And then I'll say, well, what have you done since you attended that webinar? Nothing. It's like, you can't say that. You really have to step in, make big changes, but do it in small steps. Make it more palatable, break it into smaller pieces. And there's lots of support out there through Next Steps. Take advantage of everything that's here through the webinars and through the Zoom one-on-one meetings that once you need that assistance and you've gone through a process that I could meet you with. So why are accomplishment statements so important? Because it sort of indicates and it describes past work performance and results of things that you've done in the past. So it's just a really simple formula for writing accomplishment statements. And I've chosen C.A.R and P.A.R. You'll find that, talking about your accomplishments and being able to speak about things that you've done, communicate your value to employers throughout every single point of contact that you have with them. And you need to make sure that you're responding appropriately to behavioral questions with ease and effectively. So P.A.R and C.A.R are a great solution. So really you have to start thinking in terms of, you are me Inc., you are me incorporated. And it actually has been like that for a while. I know that's how I've been thinking about my own career and the market, that, you're only as good as you are standing in front of the mirror as you are. So you need to ask yourself, what value can you add to a company? What is your strategy through this whole job search? Like, who are you approaching? You can make decisions about companies that you want to work for. So who do you want to work for? Who's your top 10 companies that you're going to target and monitor? And if you know anybody or can network and find out names, or however you're approaching. What makes you unique? And how well are you able to communicate that through the whole hiring process? So it's not just certain aspects. Everything has to be branded. Everything has to flow. Everything has to have a consistent message and a consistent look, because you are me incorporated. Conveying accomplishments effectively on your resumes and your interviews is central to your success because it's one of the best ways that any employer telling your stories, talking about things that you've done in the past and the results that you've created, getting your other marketing team or your references, keeping in touch with them so they know when you're trying out for different opportunities because they need to support you and they need to maybe confirm some of the things that you're talking about during your interview. So this is all part of the process. And there, as I said, there's all kinds of different acronyms or abbreviations that you can use. I use P.A.R and C.A.R. There's SOAR, there's STAR. STAR is quite popular on a particular website that I'm going to recommend to you. But it's just a question of what do you feel comfortable with? I just find it easier to remember problem, action, result, challenge, action, result. They're very short and sweet. And in 2-3 steps, you have a good story, a good example to give. So the problem part of it, well, no, employers aren't looking for people with problems. They're looking for people who can solve problems. So, through this whole process, you need to put your problems on hold and present your best self. And that is a problem solver, not somebody who is a problem. So they want people that can overcome obstacles. They want people who can create results. They want people who can add a benefit and value to the organization. And once we've talked about what problem or what challenge we've solved, then we talk about, okay, and what action did you take? The cause and effect of what it is that you did. And then eventually, what was the end result or what was the benefit from what you did? So it just makes it very easy to formulate answers. I always suggest you either write it out by hand or you get on a computer and you start an Excel spreadsheet or just a Word document and outline different accomplishments in different areas that are important to the job that you're targeting. So, if you're targeting customer service, you're going to get customer service questions. Tell me about a time in the past when you had a very angry customer. What process did you go through to resolve their issue and to calm them down? So that's an example of a behavioral question. And we want to think of something that's positive that will really demonstrate what we're capable of doing. So the C.A.R stands for challenge, action, result. I love these little guys. And it's just a strategy for how to answer questions and how to formulate the examples and the stories that you're telling the employer, the true stories, not stories in the sense of things you've made up. And they want to hear those examples, not lists of skills where you're just going around in circles saying the same skills without giving an example. What will you do if a coworker needs help? So that to turn that around into a behavioral question would be, tell me about a time in the past when a coworker needed help. What did you do? How do you handle a disagreement with your boss? Tell me about a time in the past when you had a conflict with your supervisor. How did you deal with it? Conflict in our culture and our business culture, it can be just a disagreement. And we don't always agree 100% with our direction that we're given from a boss. Sometimes we'd say, well, I have another suggestion. Can we think about? So it can just sometimes be a difference of opinion. Tell me about how you deal with conflict. How will you contribute to the team? These are all likely questions that if you formulate answers for, it may not be the exact question, but you may get asked something that is fairly close. And you've got something in your memory that's close that you can pull out of that compartment, that filing cabinet up here, and easily access. And, I call it finesse. You can use finesse and give a quality answer, and you're prepared, and then you're not nervous. because interviewers can always tell when you're not prepared. P.A.R is also an option that you have. As I said, it might be more mid-level down, but I would use P.A.R. I find P.A.R very effective. And that stands for problem, action, result, very similar to C.A.R. And it's just a structure and a strategy for method to structure your accomplishment statements and to do it effectively in a way that the person can follow your train of thought. Because don't forget, an interview is two people looking at each other and they are trying to sort of discover, how do you think? Are you going to fit in with the rest of the tribe? So when it comes to writing accomplishment statements, these are the things that they want to know about. You solved a problem, you created or you built something, you developed an idea, you showed leadership. I'm saying all of these just to give you some ideas. You increase sales, you reduce costs, you save time. You've been involved in a team effort that produced a specific result if you've been involved in a project. And you maybe came up with a suggestion that somehow influenced productivity. These are also results that employers are looking for. I do have a PDF with these all written out. So I give you my email address at the end, and if you want a copy of that PDF, please follow up with me and I'll send you a copy of that PDF, because we don't always see who is viewing the recorded session, so that would be good. So one of the suggestions I wanted to make to you is for identifying your skills. There's a great website it's called MindTools, and it's just, all you have to do is Google mindtools.com, and it will pull up this website. A lot of trainers and facilitators use it. I think if you pay $1, you can join it and have access to some other things. I don't join it. I just use what they have for free, and they've got lots of things that are for free. So you can just Google MindTools, and in the keyword topics, at the top where it says search keywords or topics at the upper left, just below newsletter, you can just Google get started with MindTools, test your skills, and it will pull up this particular page. And it's an interesting read, and you can identify some of the key skills that are really important in today's market. This website also has an inventory that you can take, a career skills assessment. I believe that you can scroll and think about your career direction, maybe some future direction if need be. And again, it's just mindtools.com. And there's all kinds of, you could just, in the keyword search up above, career skills, and it will pull up this particular page for you. And you can, it's an assessment that you can take about your career skills, all valuable information. This is just a great website. It talks about, we've seen quite a change in, say, the past, well, I've been in employment services many years. There's been a lot of changes over the past 2 decades, actually, because the workforce and the skills that are in demand, everything is changing. Labor market is relevant to everything, and yet people don't realize how important labor market information is. Skills are a part of labor market. Job seekers, employers, government, education, universities, education on all levels and government on all levels. 21st century skills are what the predictions are for what employers really need in the future. This is just a great website to get some information. It's the Glossary of Education Reform. It's just edglossary.org, and then 21st century skills. You could Google that. But I'm going to show you some other things too. This is what the wheel looks like for the 21st century skills. And I love this. At the core, the 21st century learner, this is what the expectation is in the market. And to be successful in the future, we're going to have these skills and to think in this way. So at the core of it is our literacy and numeracy. And then you'll notice just off to the bottom left is digital literacy, which is your technical or your computer skills, social media, all of those things. These days, a part of literacy, a huge part of literacy is being able to use a computer. So, and computer skills and having those skill sets. So if you are lacking in that area, there are many alternatives that you can start to work on and make sure that you have those skills. Computers aren't going away, and it's important to your viability in the future. Just in the upper left from digital literacy, we have lifelong learning, self-direction, and personal management. Above that is collaboration and leadership. Just to the right of that, critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation, social responsibility, and cultural, global, and environmental awareness. It's integrated right into 21st century learner skills, 21st century skills. And then at the bottom, we have communication. Wrapping around the outside, we have your subject or your discipline area, just the white band that's on the outside of those pie pieces. Your subject or your discipline or your technical skills or your area of specialization. And then wrapped around the outside is an engaged thinker, an ethical citizen, and on entrepreneurial spirit. So this is why I'm using terms like Me Inc. and the kinds of skills that they're looking for from the 21st century skills. Do you have these skills? And are you aware that these are expectations from employees in the future? The top 10 skills for employers, active listening. This one really surprised me. Communication, computer skills, customer service. Interpersonal, as I said, is a little broad because it's a lot of soft skills. Up in the next column, leadership. Leadership is relevant to everyone because everyone is expected to be a leader in their own job, in their own team, to demonstrate that leadership and cohesiveness. And it's one of the things that employers are complaining that are lacking right now is leadership and management skills. So those are two skills that employers are really showing and saying that there's a skills gap in. And the other one is computer skills. So, I mean, these days you have to be a specialist in not only your occupation, but in your technical skills, your computer skills that support that job too. So those computer skills and those technical skills are important, but it's not just computer skills, it's the technical aspect of your job. Time management, transferable skills. Transferable skills can be hard technical skills or soft skills. I love this. Communication and teamwork is really, really an imperative and an expectation in today's world. The expression and that is why we lift on 3. So communication really key. That poor patient. I usually at this part, and I'll get you to think about it, body language and nonverbal body language. So usually I get people to turn their Zoom on and make faces. But you can demonstrate, and I'll just try to demonstrate while I'm here, and just realize the power of body language and our nonverbal communication. Being tired, but you don't want anyone to know it. Angry at the person next to you. Surprise, your boss is doing an inspection of your work in 1 minute. Daydreaming about being on a tropical island. Keeping a secret that affects everybody in the room, but you don't want to share it. Suffering from a headache. Oh, my head. It's just, oh. We don't even really have to say a whole lot. It's our tone of voice and our body language. Our nonverbal communication is very important to think about during a job search. Oh, I'm afraid of spiders and one's on my desk. So it's our tone, it's our body language, and they account for a lot of the message. Other things to be aware of in the workplace right now, the 10 biggest, most common communication mistakes: racially biased comments, off-color jokes, crying, sounding uneducated, I ain't, and using the past wrong tense and things. There's no call for it. And usually it's affected. So I don't know who you're trying to impress. It just grits on people's ears around you. Swearing, flirting, I like this one, scratching yourself, fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, rambling and giggling too much, and speaking shrilly. That one's hard to say, shrilly. Your hard and your technical skills. Most people sort of kind of don't really understand the difference between hard skills and soft skills. I'm going to give you some websites that you can go in and check. I believe I took a lot of the information about this from Indeed, career advice website. So your hard skills are specific abilities to your job or your industry. For instance, if I'm a bookkeeper, my technical skill is bookkeeping, and I may use QuickBooks, and I may use, different other computer skills to do that. So that's sort of the technical, or what we call hard skills. On the other side of things, and other things that can include are, software programs that you're aware of. Could be foreign languages. I always think it's valuable to put foreign languages on your profile, and up front, operating certain kinds of equipment. The problem that people tend to make is they focus too much on the technical skills, and they're not focusing enough on the soft skills, and it has to be a balance of both. So your soft skills, these are more your interpersonal skills. They're classified maybe as personality traits, communication skills. There are different soft skills that you'll see listed in a posting that an employer is looking for in job candidates. Some of them are listed in that picture below. There are many soft skills that you could list on your resume or cover letter, but you want to think of the ones that are most sought after, the highest priorities for the job, or for your resume to target it specifically towards that occupation. And your job postings are your training wheels when you're starting out on a job search, like riding a bicycle. We have training wheels, and then there comes a point in time when the training wheels come off, and boom, we're supposed to sail. And answering the postings at the beginning is a good way to get a sense of what skills and the requirements that employers are looking for. And then you need to start to branch out, because we know it's not the most effective. Online job boards, it's not the most effective way to look for work. If you're not adjusting your resume for applicant tracking systems, if you're not hearing anything on your resume now, there's a very good reason why. And you need to stop doing what you're doing and make changes. So, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So we're just trying to adjust our thinking as we move along. Other on the Indeed skills listings, they talk about effective communication, this whole list. And I am coming to that website. Transferable skills can be anything that you've done anywhere. For instance, I mentioned I was in the financial industry. When I switched over to employment and human services, all the skills that I used as a personal account manager, I used um, in banking. It just transferred over into a different environment. You know, I had to get details out of people, confidential details. Um, I had to counsel them a lot of times on budgeting and things like that. I need to take my own advice. And yeah, you can have a huge impact, but it wasn't what I really wanted to do anymore. I was helping people, but I wanted to feel that I was helping in a different way. And we all tend to go through that at a certain point in our career. Um, Usually towards your late 30s, early 40s, you're kind of thinking and rethinking your strategy. There are different times in our life cycle, our career development, when we need to rethink things. So give some thought to attending Career Discovery, which is a mini career exploration program that we offer at Next Steps Downsview. And check with your local center to see if it's scheduled in an upcoming calendar, because it is popular and it's a great thing to go through. So definitely that self-awareness and understanding your skills and accomplishments will also be reinforced during that particular class. JobScan is a licensed scanner that we have. Employers use scanners, they use software programs. Well, JobScan's on the other side of things. It's something that we as employment specialists can use. Um, you can actually go into JobScan, it's jobscan.co, or you can just Google JobScan. Yeah, it's at the bottom of the banner, the blue banner. And I love this advertisement because it's an important statement. JobScan, blah, blah, sorry. JobScan helps your resume cut through the noise. I mean, that's perfect. 70% of all resumes are rejected from postings that are done online because of formatting errors. So are you in that 70%? Are you doing all the right things? If you're not hearing anything back, something's wrong. You need to take steps. And JobScan, you can actually go in and upload a copy of your own resume and scan it against maybe a posting, and it will score your resume against the posting. You need to score at least 80% in order to be considered for most positions, 80% or higher. So if you've got a resume that's scoring at 33, um, it's a good thing to go through that process. It's free. You can also sign up for JobScan blogs, and they're amazing blogs. I get blogs quite frequently, and it's just amazing information. So um, please take a look at this particular website and start to access some of their information, along with listening to what we have to advise you on. JobScan, this is one of the blogs I received, 39 resume accomplishments, examples to demonstrate your value. This is still on their jobscan.co blog. So you can look it up and maybe read some of those accomplishments, how they formulated. Something fits your circumstances. Don't take the whole thing, but if something is relevant, maybe play around with it, make it your own. But those examples are great, and knowing where to place it on your resume is also great. So tap into which resume fits best is a great recorded resume recorded webinar. And also, I'm just trying to think of anything else. Has your job search stalled? So for some people, it's not even a question of it stalling, it's never started. So you need to get going and be motivated. And the minimum number of hours per week, if you are a serious job searcher, would be 25 hours a week. And that is a drop in the bucket. Probably, like we always say, it's a full-time job. So you get back what effort you put into it, and you attract what your message is. So we want to make sure Are you sending the right message? Are you speaking in a way that the employer is going to receive the right message? P.A.R and C.A.R is an amazing little secret or star or whatever, but we can structure and then we can perform. An interview is a lot like acting. You know, the actor doesn't stand up and just start reading from the book. Um, it's blocked off on the stage where they stand. There's costumes. They memorize their lines. Why do they memorize their lines? Because you can't emote. You can't demonstrate emotion. You can't use the right body language if you have no idea what you're going to say. If you're up here in your head thinking, um, you're not thinking about your body language and your tone. You're up here thinking. So prepare, and then it's close by, and then I can be myself and express myself and my accomplishments in an effective way, in an impressive way. These are just some quick examples of samples. When it comes to writing an accomplishment statement on your resume, usually what I suggest you do is write out 3 separate sentences, either what was the problem, what was the action, what was the result, and then edit down from there. Or if C.A.R, what was the challenge, what was the action, what was the result? Usually in a resume, when we're speaking in an interview, we start with the problem, the action, the result. But in a resume, it's a little bit different. We usually start, because we're looking for a short phrase, we usually start with the result first. So for instance, this is a good example. Maintained a 97% satisfaction rating over a 24-month period as a customer care representative. So in this case, the problem could be assumed that customer satisfaction is an important criteria to this particular organization. And there, you know, if you're hitting a 97% satisfaction rating, that's a pretty good rating. I don't think it gets too much higher than that. And again, here the result comes first. So that's why writing it out one sentence at a time and then reformulating it into a sentence that makes sense. And of course, you notice we always start with a verb, the right verb, the most appropriate verb. Exceeded retail sales goals by an average of 17% every quarter in 2016. These speak volumes. On a resume, cut data processing time by 50% by building new cloud data infrastructure, leading to more timely insights. Created a company culture initiative, which raised employee satisfaction rates by 25% year over year. Raised employee retention by 15% over a 5-year period by implementing a tiered interview system and organizing a minimum of 2 team outings per quarter. So they've mentioned a couple of things in that particular accomplishment. Hired and managed a team of 6 scientists, data scientists, to successfully deploy a new data processing platform ahead of schedule. And now, yes, some of you are thinking, oh, I don't have those accomplishments. We all have accomplishments relevant to our job. So what is an accomplishment relevant to your job? Pitching in and helping team members in a crisis situation, being flexible and shifting over to another area to help somebody. It doesn't have to be. It can be something as simple as organizing a shelf that makes life easier for everybody else, or organizing a filing system that's alphabetical online and everybody can access information. It doesn't have to be huge. It can just be something that is, maybe part of our job description, but we're talking about the result we created. And there's a few other ones there too. So short and sweet, and yet, oh wow, powerful, powerful statements. So remember, the purpose of a resume is to get employers interested in you. But you need to know what you're doing in today's market, and there's ways to do that. And remember, the whole purpose is not to get a job. When you send your resume, is to get an interview. If you get an interview, you've been successful. So congratulations, and you need to recognize your successes. The resume is a really central piece that is a summary of your skills relevant to what you're targeting. It's not a CV, it's not your whole life story. It's kind of a brochure. It's a truthful brochure, but it's you relevant to what you're targeting. And there are different styles of resume. Again, which resume fits best? If you're making a career change, if you're a youth, I would strongly suggest that you watch that particular um, recorded workshop. It's a self-marketing tool, and we use our resume for marketing purposes. But we don't want to be willy-nilly even about marketing. You want to make sure that you're approaching in an appropriate way. So we have classes and we have webinars on that too. In the body of your resume, the supporting statements that we use to describe things that we've done in the past, it's not in the upper part, the profile. It's usually halfway down the very first page where we start into either our relevant skills and experience, if it's a functional, or accomplishments, if it's a hybrid combination, or if it's a reverse chronological combination. Hybrid is the most popular right now. We start our accomplishment statements and our support statements in the body of our resume with action verbs. This is an amazing website, 185 powerful verbs that will make your resume awesome. It's all categorized according to sort of like the technical skills like accounting, data analyst, and so on. This website's easy to access. This isn't a live link. The website's called themuse.com. So you could Google that. And yeah, the list is just, once you get on the website, 185 powerful verbs. Yeah, this is what it looks like. You increased efficiency, sales, revenue of customer satisfaction. So that's kind of gives you all kinds of, gives you the right verbs under the right heading. So it gives you some options so that you're really picking the right verb, the most appropriate verb. Actually, hang on, I could go in and take a look at it. So hang on a second. Just give me a minute. Here we go. Yeah, so now I'm in that website. Responsible for is a really weak statement, and I always tell people don't use responsible for. Because I talked to somebody today and it was responsible for managing and creating. So I said, then you managed and created. So starting with the verb, and I don't think responsible for is a very effective statement. I always try to choose the most appropriate verb. If I wasn't managing, then I provided a service. Again, it's just finding the most appropriate verb. And these are different, this is project management, saving the company time or money. So this gives you a whole selection of different verbs that you can maybe sort through and use as backup when you're creating your resume, when you're preparing for an interview to make sure that you're really coming across powerfully. Hang on a second, I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Yeah, I'm on the right page. Sorry. Okay, so that is a fabulous tool and website, the Muse. Also on your resume, there are character attributes. And again, we sort of get a sense of what those are from the job postings. Character attributes through the job search process. You need to be motivated, you need to be committed, and you need to always demonstrate integrity. Be truthful. You're right, employers aren't always truthful, and there's, however, as far as how you're representing yourself, you must think of that integrity. It's important. Your job search is truth-based and fact-based. It's not making up stories. There is a quality standard, but quality is a hard thing to convey. The only way I can convey it is if your resume, if the market is here and your resume is here, you're not going to get contacted. So you need to make sure that you're applicant tracking friendly, that it has a quality standard. And if it's something that you've been kicking around for a few years, you know what, folks, I really don't think, I have never seen a perfect resume. So I've been doing this almost 20 years. So um, you need to take a look at that. It is a critical piece that really reflects your professionalism, regardless of what you're targeting. Work to market specifications. I said that right now we have applicant tracking systems. That's a market specification. If you're applying online through job boards, it's going to go through a scanner. And there's no point in sending your resume if you have not made it applicant tracking friendly, scanner friendly, so that you maximize getting chosen. If you're just going to send the same old thing, again, it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You're only going back 10 to 15 years with employment. Most recent, most relevant. If you're going back to something that you did prior to 15 years ago, there are different ways to present and interpret that information, but that would be something that you would sit down with your employment specialist and maybe, or me, and find out, okay, how do we present this older experience that I want to use? So there's different ways of tackling those things. When it comes to your resume, when it comes to your interviews, it's like, just do it. Follow through, make a commitment. This is your future. This is your family's future. Craigslist isn't the best place to look for a job. You're going to get back what you're targeting. So connect with us at Next Steps. In addition to registering for the workshops, you need to register with us as a client. So phone our front desk and find out how to become a client. Because when it comes to working with you one-on-one, I can't do that unless you're a registered client, not registered for a workshop, but a client that is registered with the Next Steps Employment Center at Downsview. And you've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. An extra pair or two of hands helping you, hey, it's all good. So take advantage of our free services and what's here to help you. My expectation is get it done, and then you would follow through with me once you've made some formatting requirements. My expectation is that you are going to follow through with those workshops. You are going to listen and make those changes. And then eventually, once you feel that you've sifted the flour and you've got left over what is really a great resume, or as close to great as you possibly can make it, then, contact me and we'll get together and we'll take a look at your resume. But you have to do the heavy lifting, okay? And even if the English is a second language, take the time, invest the time to make sure that it's an excellent piece. It may take you longer, but you knowing how to do this is really key to your success. Seek first to understand. It's habit number 5 of Stephen Covey. And to effectively communicate, and I'm talking about this now because your stories and your examples, if we know that that's what the employer wants, then we're trying to understand what they're looking for. And by formulating P.A.R and C.A.R examples, we are seeking to understand what the employer wants, and then we're presenting what the employer is looking for. So We have to be in tune on the same wavelength, on the same radio station as the employer. This is a quote by Tony Robbins. Also love Tony Robbins. You can YouTube him and get a boost. To effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different. And we talk about that in personality dimensions and our career exploration through personality assessments. That we are all different in the way we perceive the world, and use this understanding as our guide to communicate with others. Okay, really important. So communicate with the employer. I'm telling you, this is how the employer wants you to communicate. Invest your time, present your best self so that you can be successful. Questions that you want to answer. What do you want to do? What is your target? At what level? What value, benefit, contribution do you bring to the organization? Why do you deserve the job? Why should they hire you? What qualifies you? What have you done that is transferable, and where have you worked? So your resume is kind of a sterile document. We don't use pronouns like I. If you've got pronouns I and you in there, make sure that you get rid of the pronouns. It's a third-party document. Your cover letters is a more personal document, so you can use I. However, you have to watch how many times you use the word I, because if you're constantly saying I in a cover letter, it sounds like you're focused on you, and your focus needs to be on the employer's needs. People laugh at me about this. But, you know, you really have to go through a metamorphosis. It's a competitive market right now. You have to rethink yourself. You have to recreate yourself. You have to reinvent yourself. Where do you want to get? This is a great time before we jump in and start sending out resumes willy-nilly and not preparing. We need to take a look at who we are and where we fit back into that market, and make sure that the image that we're projecting is going to attract the attention from employers that we're looking for. And if we're not hearing anything back, something's wrong. This is a great takeaway. This is a wonderful website. I'm going to see if I can go in. Hang on a second. Sometimes when it's not a busy time, I can do things easier. Yeah, this is a great website, Zeti. And it's got a list of accomplishments and 60 examples of career achievements for a resume by industry. So look at all this great stuff we have. This is called Zeti.com. And, you know, there's examples that you can take a look at and see if there's anything for you under that. So no excuses for, even if English is a second language. Start using some of these wonderful tools that will simplify your life and make things easier for you. Yeah, there, I'm back. So accomplishments for resume, key achievements and awards. And again, it's got blogs that you can sign up for. Not really any, I guess they're a resume company, but the best resume writer is you. You know your product, and you have to know your product. So when they're looking at your resume, I said 15 seconds. To be honest with you, you've got like 6 seconds when the recruiter looks at it. So where you position the information, making it eyeball scanner friendly, thinking in terms of a newspaper, using headlines or titles that can convey skills or things, that keywords that are on the applicant tracking system. Again, watch for other resume workshops. I do run a series every month, And I decided to record this. There were 3 of them, and this was one of the 3, but I think this is something that people can work on their own and get benefit from by getting started. Every reader gathers information by eyeball scanning, you know, what catches their eye. For a recruiter, it's the top half of your resume. It used to be called the hook. And it's the hook because they either see what they're looking for or they don't. So that's why that top half of your first page on your resume it's all important, but that is the most important, and that's where they go to first. So position, 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 where you position the information is marketing 101. You also don't want to be redundant and repeat things over and over again, same things that you've done if you've held similar positions. Remember that powerful communication happens when you say it once and you say it powerfully. Another way to look at your job search is your job target, the title of the job that you're targeting your resume around is it's your target. That's the future. And you want to keep it simple, silly, KISS. These days, you know, lines and fancy bullets and columns and tables, you can't do any of that for applicant tracking systems. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your formatting is correct on your resume as well. The employer's mindset, you know, we think, oh, they're looking for the best person, and they are, but they're also looking to screen out as many candidates as possible. If you get 800 resumes, boy, so that's why applicant tracking systems exist, and they exist for a reason. And if you aren't adjusting to that technology, then it's not likely you're going to be successful. If you're aware of that technology and why it's being done, because there's just overwhelming response to any advertisements. You know, if you do the right things, you're going to be the guy that gets called in the end. So the employer's thinking, how do I, you know, if I get 800 resumes, how do I screen out 799? So they're going to do a phone screening, and that's usually kind of testing your communication skills. Then they'll make a short list. And if you make it past the short list, hey, you've been successful. You've got an interview, and that's the whole point. Your profile, we're talking about your years of experience, sort of the scope of your experience. But I got to tell you, no employer's looking for 25 years of experience or 15 years of experience. It's like a rock. It's like a weight. Most postings they're looking for, you know, 5 years, 2 to 3 years. Most I've ever seen is like 7 years, but it's a key word. So you can say in your opening of your profile at the top, more than 5 years of experience. You're meeting a keyword requirement because they're looking for 5 years experience. And that would probably be a keyword that they'd be looking for. And you're exceeding their expectations slightly. So you're making through the applicant tracking system by using the 5, and you're getting in front of somebody because you use the 5, and then you know, you exceed their expectations. And that's what we're sort of trying to do. The rest of your profile, they're broad statements about your technical and interpersonal skills. These are your key success factors. These are present and ongoing characteristics, your bag of tricks that you pack up and take with you wherever you go. And you need to talk about them in general terms, you know, strong project management responsibilities for a team of up to 25. I mean, being specific, but you know, you're telling them that you've worked on a project that exceeds 25 people. So this is a skill that you have. Hey, this is a skill that we're looking for. So your profile is a profile. We also include now any degrees, diplomas, or relevant training to the targeted position up front in your profile. Now, you're not going to go into the school or any of that. If they're looking for a bachelor's degree and you have a bachelor's degree, then you list that not as a top priority, but in there as a requirement of the job, that you have your degree, or you have your diploma, or that you have your C.P.A.R, or you have your first aid. Those things need to go in the profile, because this is the big picture of who you are. I always say I recommend writing down your computer skills. A lot of cases, companies will test you for your computer skills. And languages, if it's relevant, but in today's multicultural world, it's always relevant. So you just have to see the profile of the big picture of you, not blah, everything about you. Big picture of you, relevant to what you're targeting. And I said that the job target was your future. That's what you want to be. This is your present. These are present and ongoing skills. And then once we get into relevant skills and experience on a functional resume, or work experience on a combination or a chronological resume, you're getting into talking about specifically about things that you've done, and you're talking specifically about your hard skills. So if you're doing a functional resume, the heading in the next section underneath your profile is relevant skills and experience. And we're identifying the primary hard skills of the job to feature. Again, which resume style fits best. But a resume is a combination of both the hard skills and the soft skills. So we need to make sure that our titles and our messaging supports having both hard and soft skills. Yeah, I would ask you to pick your top skill and start to write. This is quite a list. It gives you some idea. Depending on the position that you're doing, some would be technical skills. Customer service, if you're a customer service rep, in this instance, is a technical skill, because if you're in customer service, that is your technical skill. You would also have problem solving and teamwork and administrative skills too, as functional skills based resume titles. So again, I would say listen to which resume fits best. We also use attributes and characteristics. Accuracy, dependable, reliable, punctual. Those aren't really necessarily skills. They are descriptors. They are in a resume as well. We take our cues again from the posting if we're responding to an online posting. And those descriptors are important too. Punctual, reliable might come under dependable, accurate. That might all come under time management. Some of it under your accuracy and under your organization skills. But they're sort of descriptors, or a lot of times adverbs are descriptors too, in a sense. And you want to make sure you're emulating some of the language from the posting. So I would encourage you to write an accomplishment statement. Either these top three are relevant to everybody. So an accomplishment statement may be something that you did. Tell me about a time in the past when you provided an excellent customer service experience. How did you do that? Tell me about a time in the past when you demonstrated your problem-solving skills and contributed a resolution to a really challenging problem. Teamwork, tell me about a time when you jumped in and pitched in to help, a fellow colleague, and so on. So start getting used to writing those accomplishment statements. As I said, get in touch with me if you want a copy of the PDF for P.A.R and C.A.R and how to write an accomplishment statement. I'm happy to send it back to you. Your work history, it's in reverse chronological, so your most recent backwards. You don't leave anything off. You go back 10 to 15 years. If it's not relevant, you still put it on your resume. Your work history is your work history. It is what it is. But you're only going back 10 to 15 years because most recent, most relevant. And because we scan in a Z pattern, left to right, when we look across the page, scanning, and recruiters become experts at that, we go left to right, left to right, left to right. It's like a Z pattern across the page, back and forth. Knowing that, we know how to position information sometimes. I do have some specific recommendations for where you position the job title, the company name, and whenever you're adding dates for employment, you must add the months and the years. And there are certain ways to present that. I usually suggest the 3-letter variation of the month, space and the year, dash the month that you left, the 3-letter variation, space, and the year again. So we're only going back 10 to 15 years because something that you did 20, 25 years ago isn't really relevant. And you have to realize they're just scanning really quickly. It will get read in more detail later in the selection process, but you got to make it into the right pile for consideration. Your education, again, is in reverse chronological. You start at your present and go backwards. Sometimes you can list training in that section as well. I usually suggest that you put the course, you tab over to the school. You need to use tabs and not spaces. And then you tab over to the dates so that it's easy for them to pick up what your job title was, the company, and the dates. And I usually tend to prefer only to bold the job title and the dates, because when they're scanning across, you're putting the emphasis on you and your work history, and that's really what they're looking to pick up. You can list your education considering relevance. I don't recommend that you leave anything off. I do recommend that you check back with me, and we can make those kinds of decisions in a one-on-one session. Just going ahead and doing it without checking back with somebody. Again, people interpret or misinterpret things. So if you're going to follow what we're saying, you need to check in with me and make sure that you're doing the right things, that it's a resume that is good and not something that's going to be worse than what you had before. And just remember, we scan in a Z pattern, and how you position the information makes a difference. If you have any questions, I'll also encourage you to email me. Remember to take a look at MindTools, career skills on there too. There are lots of skills inventories and assessments, and you can start writing your accomplishment statements. I'm going to give you some homework. Contact me for the PDF, and I will send that along to you. If you're a youth, I will strongly recommend, there's a professional series that was put out by the U.S., I think it's the U.S. Ministry of Labor, not ministry, they don't call it that, ministries, Labor Department. And it's Skills to Pay Bills, and it's about a 7-series. It's brilliant for youth. And just to remind ourselves, even as adults, about the image that we're projecting. But I would strongly recommend, if you're a youth, which is considered anybody under the age of 29, please look up this series. It's just a great series, Skills to Pay Bills video. Send along any questions that you may have to me, and we promised that by the end of the session, you would be able to identify and know what features to skills to feature in your resume. I did recommend those assessments. There's one on indeed.com/career-advice. Great inventory, skills inventory. I mentioned MindTools. Sit down and identify your hard skills and your soft skills, your transferable skills, and take a look at postings and come to some conclusions about what are the best attributes and characteristic kind of words that you would use. Write effective accomplishment statements. And remember, you're not going to walk in like a robot to an interview. You can Zoom it, you can practice it on your phone, you can practice with the family, you can make it a game, but you need to practice. You prepare, you practice, you use P.A.R, and then you are able to perform. So it's the 4 P's of writing a great resume and also interviewing skills. So stop and reflect for a minute. There had to have been some new learning that you experienced today. What did you learn that you didn't know before? And what next steps are you going to take? I love those little bow-legged feet. What are the baby steps that you need to take? Don't think in terms of big, huge things. Just think in terms of baby steps. And I'm just going to ask you your action card. We just get you to pause and think, okay, what do you need to start doing? You need to start to revise your resume. You need to take a look at accomplishment statements. You need to, a website I wanted to mention is Google The Balance, as in balancing, balance, The Balance behavioral interviews, a great website with lots of questions and answers. Start checking out those websites, get moving, get motivated. I've given you lots of ideas. We just need to move to action. What do you need to stop doing? Procrastinating. Connect with us, connect with the webinars, start moving forward, start learning, and start making some changes. All great positive things. And I'm sure you're doing some great things now. What do you need to continue to do? Your action plan, just based on what I've talked to you about today, I want you to identify your top 10 skills on MindTools. Start running 10 accomplishment statements for your top 10 skills. Start using P.A.R or C.A.R examples. Start preparing for behavioral interviews and start preparing your answers and practicing so that you can be polished. You're not a robot, you sound smooth. And I guarantee, even if you only remember 70% of what you've practiced, it's going to be a whole lot better than flying by the seat of your pants, and you will be successful. So here's 3 great solutions to get you started. So we've attended today. You've heard lots of information. Information means nothing if you don't implement. So your call to action is identify your top 10 skills. Use all the resources available to you. I mentioned Indeed.com, career-advice, all kinds of great websites and things. Send me an email for that PDF. Continue to attend workshops and seminars, webinars. Access all the programs and services available to you. Stay in touch with us. If you've got a question, call your EA. If your EA is bogged down, call your employment specialist. If you're at Downsview, give me a call. Not usually a call, email me is best, and I'll get back to you right away. Start preparing your resume and accomplishment statements. Start preparing yourself for interviews by devising and expanding on your accomplishment statements from your resume maybe, and designing more comprehensive C.A.R and P.A.R statements, challenge, action, result, or problem, action, result, accomplishment statements. Stay in touch with us. We're juggling a lot of things and getting used to, a lot of technological changes. Please be patient. We're trying to do our best, and I want to thank you for joining me today I hope you learned lots. So good luck. I know you can do it. I know you can. Thank you so much for joining me today. There is an evaluation link that is sent to you when you originally get the link. So please either send me an email, let me know if you want the PDF, or if you just need to talk to somebody, email me, tell me what your needs are, and I'll email you, or we'll set up a Zoom or something. But you need to be a client at Next Steps, okay? So give some thought to becoming a client, and you find out more about that by calling our front desk number, 416-395-9559. Thank you, and I hope to see you really soon in one of our live sessions. Take advantage of all the great things available to you, and please submit your evaluation after attending the workshop. If you've learned one thing, if you've learned two things, if you've learned three things, could be what's going to change your future. So give us a thumbs up, give us a 5, give us an evaluation and some comments. Take care. Bye from Ann Mossop, Employment Specialist at Next Steps Downsview. Bye.